Last year, China dethroned the United States to become the European Union's largest trading partner for the first time. Both imports and exports increased despite the pandemic. The combined volume surpassed $700 billion. The two sides reached a landmark investment agreement last year. The deal will give EU firms better access to the Chinese market and create an improved business environment. It's now waiting for ratification by the European Parliament. And a deal on food and drink geographical brands has taken effect this year. It's the first significant bilateral trade agreement between the two sides. 100 products from each China and the EU, such as French champagne and China's pu'er tea, are now protected from imitations. We're now joined by Jörg Wuttke, President of the European Union Chamber of Commerce in China, and by Isabel Hilton, CEO of China Dialogue. Great to have you both with us. Jörg, if I could start with you first, please. The establishment of a high standard rule system for a more open economy in China is expected to be a top priority for leaders. That must be very encouraging for the businesses you represent. What exactly are they looking for?
Well, I have been here more than 30 years, so I have my fair share of five-year plan experience. It is always the aim of becoming a more rule-based society. Again, I guess at the end of 5 years, we will have again the situation where we say it could have been more. But it's baby steps. It's moving in the right direction. In the chamber, we can always come up with recommendations and improvement areas. Last year, September, was 430 pages, 900 cases. It shows two things. One is how much still has to be done, and B, how much interest European business has in order to get things done.
Isabel, how much of an opportunity is there for cooperation on tackling climate change between China and the EU?
Well, I think across the spectrum of renewable technologies, yes. Water technologies, for example. China is extremely scarce of water. Europe can help. And I think an alignment of ambition on things like circular economy, on things like driven by the European Green Deal, on the taxonomy of what investments consider green. There's really quite a spectrum of possibilities here.
Jörg, the headwinds to global trade have been really significant over the past year, but we have seen an increase in imports and exports between China and the EU. Do you see competition as well as cooperation increasing between the two sides this year?
Well, first of all, it's €1 billion a day coming from China to the European Union and €500 million a day going from Europe into China. So apparently customers and people like each other's products. But of course, there's far more potential. I mean, still the European Union companies export to the US twice as much as they do to China. So that shows the potential of the Chinese market if they would open up further. There's lots of headwinds. It's mostly of political nature. The deglobalization forces were covered in a recent decoupling report by the European Chamber. And we're clearly worried about this kind of technology war, which is coming up between the US and China. That would be really the unknown, big unknown, distorting the market between Europe and China.
Isabel, what's your take on that? And how do you think the trade relationship could be better managed?
There are a lot of headwinds, and I think that we can anticipate that they're not going to get any easier, certainly in the next couple of years. I think there is a strategic competition between the US and China, and it's going to be quite tricky for the EU to navigate its way through. The EU itself has also emphasized a strategic autonomy. There are problems with the China relationship which are to do with a certain hardening of public and political attitudes towards China in the past year. So I think that for us to make progress, we need very actively to look at those areas of cooperation that do work, for example, on biodiversity and climate change, a constructive conversation going as we move forward into the post-COVID world.
And if I could ask you both what else you'll be looking closely for at this year's two sessions, Jörg?
For us here in China, we of course look at the plan. China has a plan, and you sometimes wonder if Europe has a plan. We're looking at dual circulation, meaning the emphasis of China of being very self-sufficient to a large extent. That worries us. At the same time, it gives us business opportunities where China opens up areas that used to be closed. And of course, I guess that the 45-year plan should not be underestimated. Again, China has a plan. It should be a wake-up call for Europe because China's not going to wait.
Isabel?
Last September, President Xi made a very important announcement at the UN of China's ambition to become carbon neutral by 2060. That's great. Getting there, however, and how you get there, how quickly you get there is what matters. So in this critical 5-year plan, we will be looking at signs of greater ambition for China's energy transformation. We will be looking at concrete steps to 2030, which is an absolutely critical period. If China is to achieve its 2060 goal, we need to see very, very important signs now, for example, on coal, for example, on green finance, for example, on how to ramp up renewables fast enough and comprehensively enough to meet those targets. And that will be really exciting if we can see those signs.